playing football. Kind of kicks us into the holiday week here, and so all of us want to wish everybody happy holidays and Merry Christmas and all that. It's a big week and a lot going on in football, but there's a lot going on in the rest of the world too. And we're going to try and do everything we can to enjoy the holiday as much as possible, which really means finishing the week with a nice win. We got a week behind us that we're real proud of, and the way our guys played and the way they rallied together and all in Arizona was a great setup for this opportunity that comes up this week against the Rams. It's very much like it was last year, and this game is so important for the whole postseason stuff, and we're tuned in. But we're really focusing on getting a great week, as you might expect. This is a championship weekend and coming up, and so we're going to play this week just like we know how to, and have a great time preparing and getting after it, and looking forward to a great opportunity coming home to Century Link and the 12s and all that stuff is really cool. So we're excited about all this and looking forward to it.
How do you balance that with with Christmas falling in the middle of this week, just adjusting the schedule?
We'll just take the break on Christmas Day. For everybody, we'll work on Christmas Eve, and we'll recognize it like we did last year. It worked out pretty well for us last time around.
Your offensive line played pretty well with Patrick Lewis and Alvin Bailey, and they're only one sack allowed to Russell. How did you kind of evaluate how they kind of came through the game?
We were much improved. Obviously, we got sacked a bunch the first time out against those guys, so that improvement alone, plus the yards rushing, really was a great statement for those guys coming through. And I think everybody worked really well together. I gave a lot of credit to the coaches because they were scrambling a little bit to make sure everybody was communicating and all against a very challenging front. And we got that done. We handled it, the problems that they cause you better. We were better versed and cleaner in our communications and all of that. Even with the stadium and all, we really talked really well at the line of scrimmage, and things worked out fine. So Alvin played a nice football game. Patrick did a good job and did a really good job. All the guys played together very well, so it was a good outing for us.
The coaches, what is it about Tom Cable that has allowed him to, you guys have had to change your line so many times this season, but you kind of just keep
Tom's got a great system, and he's worked really hard at the communications and the verbiage and making sure that all of the principles of the language that's so important is really embedded. He's a great teacher, and he takes great pride in making sure that group is really coordinated well. He moves guys around a lot during the course of the year to make sure that they're well versed on left side, right side, and guard and tackle and all of that. So that when you're forced to make those kinds of choices, guys are better versed and prepared for it. So he does a masterful job of that. It has not been easy. We've had a lot of changes this year. I don't know what the numbers are on that, but it's been a lot of moving parts, and he's really commanded it really well for us.
Max can't go this week. Would you lean towards Patrick, or would you go back to him?
We'll wait and see as we go through the week. Let's wait. Give us a few days, and we'll figure that out.
What is Max's status this week?
He's trying to get back. He won't do much today. Maybe we'll get something out of him tomorrow. It's going to be touch and go to get him by the game. It's just been a long, arduous process getting him back, and unfortunately, it isn't. I would love to say he's cranking and ready to go, but I can't tell you that right now. I don't know.
The decision to go with Patrick, was that because he had played against Arizona?
Yeah, and he played well. He did a nice job against them. We thought he held up well, and so just in the competitive world that we're living in here, we're trying to give guys chances, and if there was an edge here or there, we're going to give a guy a shot, and that's what Tom wanted to do with it, and and Patrick came through.
Still look like Russell Okung is on track to practice this
He's
week.
practicing today. Yeah, he's with us and has a real good chance to get back.
How about Jermaine Curse?
It's going to be tough for him to make it back because he did pull his hammy a little bit. It's a first-degree pull, but it's going to be hard to get back in 7 days. But we'll check him at the end of the week and see where he is.
How's Cooper healthy?
He's practicing today, just toughing it out really, and it was an admirable job by him last week. Getting banged like he did, and to make it through the game, and really to come back out here now. He'll try to make it through the week and see if he can be available to us on the weekend. Tony's will practice today too, so that gives us a little boost that both those guys will be back fighting for it, and we'll figure it out once we get the week through.
The Rams, who tended to be, I guess, for lack of a better word, chippy. There was a little sideline thing they had over the weekend against the Giants. How do you prepare your team for games like this against an opponent that might be looking to mix it up a little bit?
We don't prepare any differently. We're trying to play the game we want to play and play it, on our terms as best we can, and not be taken out of that. So, this is no different than any other game. We do recognize that there was something that happened last week and all, but that's not going to change anything.
They do seem to, Coach Fisher offers some gimmicks and some wrinkles and something. Is that a little extra challenge facing the Rams?
Yeah, he's a great coach. He's been around a long time. He's pulled off a lot of great plays and great finishes and surprise you with all kinds of things over the years. He's got a great bag of tricks, and we honor that and respect it. Unfortunately, we've been the victim a couple times, and much to his credit. So we'll be very much on the alert, and we have to play a really sound game against them. It isn't just in special teams, but that's been a focal point for them, and Fossil does a really nice job with their group too. He does a good job for them.
When it comes to recognizing those kind of gimmicky or trick plays, is it about going back and looking at what they have already put on tape, or is there different recognition that comes in on the field as they're calling them?
Yes. You have to do all of it. We have to know the history, and we dig very deep to make sure that we've covered all of the things that they've done in the past, going way back. But also, it's more than that. It's the awareness that you have to have. Just sensing that there's the right numbers on the field, the right looks and field goal teams, and as everybody where they're supposed to be, and scanning the sidelines and all those types of things. We have to really be on alert, and it's good for us. It makes us better. It's how you should always play, but unfortunately, not everybody does, and you miss things now and then. So we have to do a good job of that.
Special teams have kind of been up and down for you guys this year. How much is just getting back to health where you now have that kind of core group of guys?
It's enormously important. Yeah, the continuity, all of the stuff those guys have to share and learn and count on one another has so much to do with continuity. And it's an area of your football team that always has some kind of fluctuation, but the system being able to remain intact is really important so that you don't make mistakes and you don't have the big plays that can change the game. We lost a few guys right in the middle of it that were really the core guys, and Derek Homer was a big deal losing him. He was such a big factor to us, and so you just have to overcome it, and we've come back now, and I think the guys have done a nice job where we feel comfortable. We've got some backup help now, and we've got some replacements that can jump in and give us some flexibility and all. So we should be okay at this point, but it was hard in the middle.
What's Harold Simon's status for you?
He felt pretty good today, and he'll get some work tomorrow and see how far he can take it. This will be an amazing recovery if he's able to do it. You know, he had a real knock on his shoulder, and but he feels pretty good. And he's been through it before on his other shoulder, so he knows what he's into, and that helps sometimes. Seems like he's got a chance.
There's no structural damage to the shoulder.
I didn't say that. There's some stuff that happened. Yeah, it was a traumatic shot on the shoulder, but he's made it back from it, and to this point, he's admirably pushing to play this week. You know, he's going for it.
Chris Matthews.
He'll get work tomorrow, and we'll see where he is. He had a good weekend, made it through his running routine in the weekend. He's got to have a good day today, and then we'll try to practice him tomorrow.
Marcus Dobbs.
He's getting closer. We're going to take a look at him tomorrow.
With Max, is there any concern on your front that he won't be able to come back free, or is this just a matter of time?
No, it's a really severely sprained ankle, and it's a high ankle sprain. Sometimes those high ankle sprains, sometimes they don't go away for a whole season, and guys have to just clump around with them. We're trying to get him through that so that he can be strong once he gets back. Often you bring guys back a little early on those because they feel like they can go, and it just lingers and they never get right. So we're going to try to wait through it if we have to, and if he can make it this week, then we'll go and we'll see what happens.
Looking back, what were the main reasons you lost in St. Louis, do you think?
What were the main reasons? Well, we didn't score enough. It was really basic, but yeah, that part you probably already get. But the big plays in the kicking game were really the difference in the game, and there was 3 enormous plays. The one punt return for a touchdown, the big kickoff return that sets up a score, and then the fake to allow them to hold the football. We felt pretty good about winning that game if we can get the ball back that last time. And those are 3 enormous plays that changed the game, and all the credit goes to their coaching staff and Jeff and those guys that put it together. So it was a great way to get us.
Does it seem like the team was in flux that particular day, given what had happened in the 48 hours before that?
No, I don't know if we're in flux. I don't know what that would be. We didn't play very well. We were a little disappointed when we look back at the film now at how we played on defense. The contrast between how we played then and how we're playing now is really clear, and so hopefully that'll factor in and help us. It's going to be a very challenging game. These guys have all kinds of, look what they've done. They shut out 2 teams. I don't think we've ever shut 2 teams in a row out, and that's an enormous accomplishment. And they came back the next week and gave up 12. I think they gave up 4 points over a 3-week span or something average. That's crazy numbers. And so we have a lot of respect for this team and their coaches and the players. They probably have the most athletic team that we'll face all year long. They're probably the fastest group that we'll see. I know they're young, but they're very athletic, and so we'll get our hands full.
Teams board outside the locker room, is that your thing, or is that Brian Schneider's, or who started that?
No, that's nice.
Is that just kind of a good example of how serious you guys take it, that's right there for players to see every day?
Yeah, we it is a common thought for us to keep score and to track things, because the guys that are really competitive, it really matters to their names on the board. They want to be on top of that board, and so that's an old Dean Smith thing, by the way.
The number of rushing yards Russell has for the season is starting to get up there among some of the top in the history of the NFL for a season. Did you ever have a thought of how many is optimal for him or anything like that, or is it just
no, because the games dictate that somewhat, how they want to play us and all. If they give us an opportunity for him to run, we'll take it. But it's not something that we're going to force the issue on. We don't want him getting hit. We're trying to keep him from getting hit, and he does a great job himself at that. But that's part of the scheme too. We don't put him in harm's way. We're not going to, call for him to do the kinds of things that where we could count on consistently always going to him for so many plays. That's not how it goes. We take what we can get.
Getting 596 yards against any NFL defense is a feat. What happened with Russell's execution that perhaps was such a difference maker in this game versus any?
Well, we were fortunate we had big plays. You have to have big plays to do that, and we had enormous plays. The 80-yard touchdown, the 79-yard touchdown, his big whatever that 50-yard run or whatever. Doug had a big play up the sidelines. You got to have explosive plays. But what happened in this game is when the opportunity was there, he nailed it. And that's sometimes the ball gets overthrown or you just don't make the connection. And then of course the two big runs factored in. But they were there. They took chances. They came after us. They gave us some one-on-ones. Our guys won. He delivered the ball, and away we go. So I think it was a really good execution, coming through with the catches and the throws, and really challenging the scheme that they were throwing at us. That was a big part of what was going on there. So it just worked out well for us. And against that defense, there has been some teams. If you look back, I think there's 2 or 3 teams that threw the ball for 400 yards in those guys during the course of the season. So they had some games where they gave up a lot of yardage. But we were just fortunate.
Any concerned with
No, he's good. He's good. And that was a big fluke as we could imagine. He's kicked the ball great for us for years. We've counted on him. He's always come through, and he'll do it again. No. Yeah, I talked to him a couple times. Yeah.
Luke Wilson, he said afterward those were so kind of the plays that you got adopted for speed and things like that.
Yeah.
From when going through the process of drafting him and everything, that's exactly kind of what you saw primarily.
Well, he ran 4.5s. That's a great time for tight ends, and he just didn't get a lot of attention in college, and it's a great job by John and his guys to find him as a prospect. And then to work him out with the thought that he could be what he is now. And this is the guy we hoped we would get. We hoped he would sneak a guy through the draft, and we'd get him and he'd come through and be a big hit for us. That's rare speed for a tight end, and it showed up. It was great that he's had a couple plays over the years, but that was a big game for him to just demonstrate how strong he is.
He's had to start for you pretty much all season. How has he kind of adapted to that role, and did it take any time for him to get fully integrated into starting and being your number one guy?
It has taken some time. When we had Zach, we moved him around a little bit more and did some other things with him. He wasn't really the primary tight end all of the time. Just the consistency of our need for him to be on it has been a difference for him, and he's really answered the call. He is a really strong kid in terms of his competitiveness, his study habits, his attention to detail. He's as all in as anybody we have in this team, and so he has really gained. He learned a lot from Zach. And Zach was a great teacher for him, and now that he's got the job, he's done a really consistent job. He's going to continue to get better. His blocking will always improve because he's coming from a place where he had a lot of ground to make up, and so he's doing a good job.
You mentioned the big plays and the execution. How much of that, too, is Russell just recognizing when he had the right matchup?
Certainly it was. It was. And picking up Luke on the first corner route, generally that route is covered. They made a little error there, and he took advantage of it and threw a great ball. The blitz pickup a couple times, where those are great sights by Russell to recognize it. It's what he's asked to do. He should do it, but he did it beautifully, and we scored and had a big play on the other one. So that's tremendous illustrations of his growth and his the banking on his experience and all of that. So it's nice job.
Is that an uptick from what you saw from the beginning of the year for him?
He's at times he's been able to do that, and he just hit it in one game in particular, and they kept coming, and he kept making the right decision and the right choices and all of that. It's better than he was, well back, but he's been able to, he recognizes those situations. Those are full blitz situations and taking advantage of it, but that was the best it looked. It came through for us.
To mask his excitement better on that one.
No, that was pretty good. I like that. I like it. It looked a little, he doesn't do stuff like that very often. It's kind of cool.
That Dude Perfect video that you did, how many times did it take you to throw on the garbage can?
Should I never tell? That was first shot. The camera was rolling, and all of a sudden that just happened,
How often has Marshad been bothered by their stomachs before games? How common is that?
More than a couple, There's been a handful of times where he just can't quite get right at the start of the games, and it's not something that it's perfectly timed. It kind of happens when it happens, but we recognize that he's got a little ritual he's got to get through to get ready, and sometimes it doesn't time up just right.
Anything else? Thank you.
It's the Richard Sherman Show. Hey.